Okay everyone, today's video is going to be talking about ordering mathematical operations, basically how to work out mathematical operations correctly using the BODMAS or BOMDAS rules. Okay, so some people refer to it as BODMAS, others refer to it as BOMDAS, but that acronym just purely stands for brackets is the B, orders is the O, and orders just means if there's a number that has a square root or squared. D is the division, okay, if something is being divided. M is multiplication, something is being multiplied. Now these are interchangeable, hence the BODMAS or BOMDAS version, but so the division and multiplication are basically the same ordering of rank, I guess, or importance when you're working out or evaluating a mathematical operation. Then we have addition, adding two numbers together, and subtraction. Okay, and once again, these are a bit interchangeable. Basically, addition and subtraction are the lowest ranked order. Division and multiplication are higher, so they get performed first. But if you have something that has an order that's to be square rooted or squared, that is even before all of this. And the most important one to perform first is anything in brackets. Okay, so BODMAS. Okay, that's the acronym. Now we'll go through a few examples and explain step by step how to apply all this and to work out some operations. Okay, so I'll start with a pretty easy one here. So if I just zoom this in a bit more. Okay, all right, so the first one we have here is 3 multiplied by 8 times 32, and we've just kept our rule over here, BODMAS. Okay, just indicating brackets is the highest order, then operations, division and multiplication being the same ranking order, and addition and subtraction being the lowest but similar ranking order. Okay, so the first step here we have is 3 times 8 plus 32. We look at the multiplication symbol. We have a multiply and an addition. Okay, so the first step we do is evaluate this part of the operation here, 3 multiplied by 8, which gives 24. So the first line of working out here, it's a pretty simple one, but to show all lines are working, we've gone 24 plus 32. So we've worked out this first part, and then we write down the rest of the operation here, and then it's just simply adding 24 plus 32, and we get 56. Okay, pretty straightforward. So we'll go on to another one here, which is question number 2, and we might just get that even a bit bigger. Okay, all right, question number 2. 7 minus 3 divided by 3. Okay, so feel free as well at any point in time to pause this video and work these out on your calculator. As long as you type it in exactly as it appears in the operation, you'll get the right answer. So using our BODMAS rule, all right, we have a subtraction symbol and we have a division. So according to our rules, we actually need to do the division before the subtraction. Okay, so the first line of working out is evaluating this part here, 3 divided by 3. So our first line of working out becomes 7 minus 1, which is 3 divided by 3. And then we simply just subtract 1 from 7 and we get 6. Okay, so far so good. All right, the next one we have here. All right, it's question 3. Okay, so now we've got some brackets. division and an addition in here. So for once again, we follow our BODMAS rules. Brackets, we have brackets. So the first step is to evaluate the brackets here, the 1 plus 1. All right, so our first line of working out becomes just that, 8. So we write down the rest of our operation. The first part in this case, 8 divided by 2 times, now there's actually a little imaginary multiplication there. If you have a number and some brackets, it's just implied that it's multiplied. So we get 2 here because we're adding 1 and 1 together. All right, and then just as this next line of working out, I've just got rid of the brackets just to explain that really 2 bracket 2 means 2 times 2. Okay, so now we look at this line of working. So we've got 8 divided by 2 multiplied by 2. Now when we have a division and a multiplication, all right, they're the same ranking order, so we just go from left to right. Okay, so we start here and head towards the right, and we just perform the operations in that order then. So knowing that, so the next step is to perform this part here, 8 divided by 2, all right, which gives us 4. And then we write the rest of the operation times 2, as we have here, the rest of it here. And then we just evaluate 4 times 2 is 8. All right, so that's all the steps of working out for this one. Now, what would happen if we didn't have the brackets here? Would we get a different answer? So, yes, we would is the answer to that. So if we just scroll over here, we've done this same operation, but it doesn't have the brackets. Okay, so now we're looking at 8 divided by 2 times 1 plus 1. Okay, so following our rules, the BODMAS rules, we don't have any brackets, so the next highest ranking operand that we have is we have a divide, we have a multiply, and we have an addition. Okay, so because the divide and the multiply are the same ranking order, we just go from left to right. And so the first line of working out we have is to just evaluate this part of our operation. Okay, so we go 8 divided by 2, which gives us 4. All right, and then we just write out the rest of the operation that we have here. So it becomes 4 times 1 plus 1. All right, now once again, we just have a look at this and we can see we've got a multiplication and an addition. Okay, so according to BODMAS rules, the multiplication is a higher rank and is done before any additions. Okay, so therefore the next step is to evaluate this part of the operation. 4 times 1 is 4. And then we write out the rest of the operation plus 1. So it's 4 plus 1. And then we just simply do 4 plus 1 to get 5. All right, so it does make a big difference whether you have brackets, whether you don't have brackets, and the order in which you work these out. So without the brackets, we got an answer of 5. Okay, but back over here, it was the same numbers, same everything, except we had the brackets here and we got an answer of 8. All right, so it does matter how you do it. All right, the next question we have here is question 4. Now we can scroll up here. Okay, so question 4, we have 16 minus 4 squared plus 5. Okay, so we refer to our BODMAS rule over here. We don't have brackets, but we have an order this time. All right, this 4 squared is an example of an order, all right, where we've got a square number. So that's what has to happen first. So our first line of working becomes 16 minus 16, okay, which is come from there. And then we write out the rest of our operation plus 5. So then we just can simply evaluate this, but just doing one step at a time, which is highly recommended. A lot of people can make a lot of errors by trying to do more than one thing at once. So if we just keep it simple, we have a subtraction here and we have an addition. They're the same ranking order. Okay, so the one we do first, we look left to right. Okay, it's the subtraction. So the next line of working becomes 0 plus 5, which is 16 minus 16. We evaluate that, and then we add on our 5, and 0 plus 5 equals 5. Okay, so then now, so what would happen if we had some brackets here? So we've got an example, the same numbers, but instead of 4 being squared, if we have the brackets around 16 minus 4, and that entire part was squared. Okay, so what would we get? We would get something like this. So referring to our rule, BODMAS once again, we have brackets this time. So we actually, the first step is to evaluate what's inside the brackets right here, which is 16 minus 4. So our first line of working becomes 12 squared plus 5, because we've evaluated 16 minus 4, which is 12. Okay, that number is squared, as it suggests here, and then we just write the rest of our operation here, plus 5. Okay, so now we've done the brackets, so now we refer to the rule once again. We have a number that's being squared here, so we have an order and an addition. So according to our rule over here, we need to evaluate the order first. Okay, so our next line of working becomes 144, which is 12 squared, and then we add on the 5, plus 5. Okay, and then our final answer becomes 149, because we're just adding these two together, 144 plus 5. Okay, so once again, you can see if you square the wrong numbers or the wrong portions of numbers, you can get a much different answer than what we had over here. Okay, very good. So another example we have here is this one here. So this one, we have 25 minus 3 in brackets multiplied by 4. Okay, so once again, we refer to BODMAS, and we have a highest order of a bracket in here, so we must evaluate this part first. Okay, so our first line of working becomes 22 times 4, because we've evaluated this part, and then we add on, and then we write in the rest of the operation, 22 times 4, and then we just simply calculate that out to be 88. Now, once again, what would happen if we didn't have the brackets? Would it be different? Yes, it would. All right, and we've got an example over here. If we didn't have the brackets, and we just simply had 25 minus 3 multiplied by 4, okay, what would be the answer? Okay, well, according to our rule once again, so we have a look, we have a subtraction and we have a multiplication. All right, so multiplication here is a higher order than subtraction here. So therefore, we must evaluate this part of our operation first. Okay, so then our first line of working becomes 25 minus 12, all right, because the 12 is the 3 times 4. And then we just simply subtract 12 away from 25 to give 13. Okay, so once again, a very different answer. Without brackets, we get 13. But then when it has brackets around this part of it, the same numbers give a totally different answer of 88. Okay. Another one here. All right, so this one we can scroll in a little bit more. All right, so now just getting ever a little bit more complicated with our problems that we're working out here. We're just using our knowledge and applying it a bit more to slightly more complicated problems. So what we have on this occasion is 10 plus 3 divided by 3/4. Now this is in blue, this is a fraction, okay? So brackets didn't work very good in this occasion, but this is actually a fraction 3/4 minus 6. Okay, so once again, we refer to our BODMAS rules. We have an addition, we have a division, and we have a subtraction. Okay, so according to our rule, the division is the most highest order in this operation. So the first thing we have to actually do is evaluate this portion here, 3 divided by 3/4. Okay, now how do we do 3 divided by a fraction? All right, I'm glad you asked. Well, if we just move across here, we can explain how we do that. Now if I can just scroll this one out a bit. All right, so something else to note. All right, so when we are dividing by a fraction, what we actually do is we turn the fraction upside down and multiply, okay, or multiply by the reciprocal of the fraction. So in this example, we had 3 divided by 3/4, okay. So when you turn the fraction upside down and multiply, okay, it becomes 3 multiplied by 4/3. Okay, so we've just turned this divide into a multiply and we've flipped the fraction upside down. Okay, so then when you evaluate it, you can work this out on your calculator right now if you like. 3 multiplied by 4/3 or 4/3, we get 4. Alrighty, and just something else to note as well, 3/4 as a decimal is 0.75, and that's pretty straightforward as well. All you basically do to work that out is you just put in your calculator 3, you press divided by, and then you press 4 and you press equals. So 3 divided by 4 as a decimal is 0.75. And the reason I mention that is because if you wanted to just confirm and verify your answer or how to work this one out with your calculator, then you can just substitute your 3/4 fraction with this decimal number. Okay, so our initial problem earlier was 10 plus 3 divided by 3/4 minus 6. So if you substitute that in and you go 10 plus 3 divided by 0.75 minus 6, what do you get? Okay, did you get 8 as the answer? All right, if you type that in, that's what you should get. All right, so now that we know 8 is the actual final answer, okay, we can scroll back over here and continue with the working out. Okay, so when we have 10 plus 3 divided by 3/4 minus 6, okay, our first line of working out becomes this. So as we've just spoken about, we are evaluating this part of our operation, 3 divided by 3/4. Okay, so once again we change the divide to a multiply and we invert the fraction. Okay, so our first line of working becomes 10 plus 3 times 4/3 minus 6. Okay, and then when we evaluate this part as we did over the other side there, our next line of working out becomes this here. Okay, because this part here, 3 multiplied by 4/3 gives us 4. Okay, so then the next line of working out is 10 plus 4 minus 6. Okay, because we've got 10 plus 4, this has worked out to be minus 6. All right, so now it's just a matter of adding and subtracting these numbers in order from left to right. So the addition and the subtraction both have the same ranking. So which one you do first, you just go from left to right. So the first one we come across is the addition. So the next line of working, we're going to evaluate this part, 10 plus 4, and then we're going to subtract 6. Okay, so the next line of working becomes 14 minus 6. Okay, And then when you do 14 minus 6, you get the final answer of 8. Okay, and 8 was what we worked out over here when we put it into the calculator. All right, very good. Okay, so yeah, now we're just moving on to even a bit more complex ones. So now if we have a bit of a look at this question here, okay, so now that might look a bit frightening to some of you, okay, but it's just following, if we just follow the same rules and just go step by step and just do one thing at a time and show all of our working out, then we'll be totally fine, and we'll be able to simplify this and work this out to be the correct final answer. Okay, so once again, and just a quick note, if you wanted to pause this video and enter this into your calculator, exactly how it is with your brackets and with the numbers you're squaring and closing brackets. And then if you just substitute this half, okay, so once again we're dividing by a fraction, but a half as a decimal is 0.5, okay. So if you wanted to substitute 0.5 into this bit here, you could go ahead, pause this video, type this into your calculator and see what answer you get. Okay, and you can chuck that in the comments below if you like, or see what you come up with, what answer you do get when you put this in your calculator. And then we'll just go through the working out of it now, step by step, and see if we get the same answer. Okay, so if we have a look at this question here, now first of all we can see if we've identified we've got some brackets. Okay, so we're just highlighting this here. So the first step is to evaluate the brackets, which I've put a circle around here. Now within the brackets, this actually is going to require 2 steps, because within the brackets we actually have an order here of 5 squared, and we also have a division by 5 as well. Okay, so our first line of working out will be solving or evaluating these brackets by first of all evaluating the order. Okay, so our first line of working out becomes this here. All right, so we just write down what we're not using or not evaluating. We just copy that out and write that down again. Okay, so our first line of working out becomes 5 times 6 minus 4 times open bracket 25. Okay, because we've just initially evaluated this for now. Okay, because it's the order. Divided by 5, still within the brackets, and then you write out the rest of your order, the rest of your operation, divided by 2, divided by a half, plus 9. Okay, so that's part of the brackets evaluated. Now that we've removed the order and we've made this 25, now we need to evaluate this part here, what's in the brackets. Okay, so the next step will be evaluating 25 divided by 5. Okay, so the next line of our working out looks like this. Okay, so once again, we just type in the rest of our numbers in our operation. So it was 5 times 6 minus 4 multiplied by 5 now. Okay, because this part here has simplified and evaluated out to be 5 here. And then we write out the rest of our operation, divided by 2, divided by a half, plus 9. So far, so good. Okay, so we've got rid of the order and the brackets. Okay, now we just examine this here and we look at what else we have. So we've got multiply, we've got a subtraction, we've got another multiply, we've got a couple of divisions here, and an addition at the end here. Okay, so as we know from our BODMAS rules, multiplication and division are a higher order than adding and subtracting. Okay, so our dividing and multiplying will be next. So we look at our operation and we move from left to right. So the first the next step will be to evaluate this part here. Okay, 5 multiplied by 6. All right, so the next line of working out, scroll down, becomes this here. So we now have 30, okay, which is 5 times 6. And then we just write out the rest of the operation. Don't try and work out multiple stages and multiple parts as you go. Just do one thing at a time. So then we write out the rest of it. It's 30 minus 4 multiplied by 5 divided by 2 divided by a half plus 9. Okay, so now we examine, once again, we've still got some subtraction, addition, multiplies and divides. So starting from left to right, we look at this here. So we've got a subtraction and we've got a multiplication. Okay, and according to our rule, our BODMAS rule, then we multiply before we subtract. Okay, so the next step is to evaluate this part of our operation here. So the only step we're doing here is this 4 multiplied by 5. Okay, so the next line of our working out becomes this. So we have 30 minus 20, okay, which is 4 multiplied by 5, and then we just write out the rest of our operation, divided by 2, divided by a half, plus 9. Okay, so as you can see, this is starting to get slightly more simplified as we're moving through and adding more lines of working out. Okay, so once again, we have a look and we have a subtraction here and we have a division here. Okay, so when we compare the two, we know that division is a higher order than a subtraction. Okay, so the next part we're going to do is evaluate this part here, 20 divided by 2. Okay, all right, so our next line of working out becomes this. So we have 30 minus 10 now, okay, because we've just done this, 20 divided by 2. And then we just write out the rest of our operation, divided by a half, plus 9. Okay, so once again, similar process. We have a subtraction and we have a division. Okay, division is a higher order than a subtraction. Okay, so the next step in the process is to evaluate this part here. Okay, 10 divided by a half. And as we spoke about earlier, when we are dividing by a fraction, what we do is we change this sign, we turn that into a multiply, and we invert the fraction, we flip it upside down. Okay, so this becomes, so the next line of working here will look like this. Okay, so we'll have 30 minus 10. So now instead of dividing by a half, we're multiplying by 2 over 1. Okay, plus 9, because this is the plus 9 here. All right, so now, now we can evaluate this part here. Okay, 10 multiplied by 2 over 1. All right. And so our next line of working becomes this. Okay, so we have 30 minus 20. Okay, because all we've done here is just evaluate this. 10 multiplied by 2 over 1 is 20. And then we just write the rest of our, whatever we have in our operation, which is a plus 9. So we have plus 9 here. Okay, and now it's looking a bit more simpler than when we first started. So now, once again, we basically, just got 30 minus 20 plus 9. Okay, and but just once again, just keeping to the rule of one step at a time. So subtraction here and addition here, they're both, neither of them outrank each other in terms of higher order. They're both the same weighting. So which one do we do first? Do we subtract first or add first? Well, we just look at it and go from left to right. And the first one we come across is the subtraction. Okay, so the next part that we're evaluating is this part here. Whoop. Okay, 30 minus 20. All right. So then our next line of working becomes this. So we have 30 minus 20 is 10, plus our 9 for the rest of our operation. Okay, and then we just simply add 10 and 9 together and we get 19. And that is the final answer. Okay, there we go. So that's all the steps of working if I just scroll that back in a bit and come up a bit. So it's all the steps of working there we've done to evaluate this pretty long, complicated equation that we had to start with. All right, just in a step-by-step process, following the rules. Okay, and we've evaluated it to be, the answer is 19. Okay, and I don't know if you did it before, but if you wanted to just double check it now, you could pause this video if you like. And once again, if you substitute half for 0.5 as the decimal number, and if you type this exactly into your calculator with the brackets, squaring this number, closing the brackets, then you will get this answer we worked out here of 19. All right. Well, there we go, folks. I think we might leave it there. That's a fair bit of information to take in. We went through a fair bit of stuff there. So the good old BODMAS, okay, with the order of math, working out mathematical operations. Okay, so once again, back to the rules here. Brackets is the first priority, then orders, then division or multiplication. They can be interchanged. And then the lowest order of what you do is addition and subtraction. All right, very good. Okay, well, thanks very much, guys, for your time. Hopefully this was quite helpful for you guys. If you have any further questions, or if you have other problems regarding this, pop them in the comments section below. We might have a chance to solve them or have a crack at them. Or also you can email me. I'll pop a link in the description below. Send through any other questions regarding this and relating to this sort of thing, and I'll certainly have a look through and read through and get back to you guys. All right, so be sure to subscribe if you like this video. Give it a thumbs up. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to keep up to date with all the updates that we'll have here on how to become a mathemagician and improve your math skills along the way. All right, awesome. Thanks, guys. Cheers.